My channel is slowly becoming known for silly Fortnite challenges. Whether it is riding the train to my death, pistol only, or crouch walking across the entire map, y'all make me do some crazy stuff. Well, on a recent video, several people suggested I cross the entire map using only the Grapple Blade. Unfortunately for my sanity, I'm a people pleaser, so I decided to give it a go. Now, if you want a guaranteed Grapple Blade, you really have two options. You could visit Hope in the train tunnel just north of Hazy Hills. She sells the Grappler Blade for 400 gold and a Rift to Go for 250. But if you want to take that Grappler and do something idiotic, like try to cross the entire map, for instance, you're going to want to land at Rebel's Roost. Here you will find Steel Sight, and she also sells the Grappler Blade. But now, in addition to acquiring the Grappler Blade, you've also put yourself in the far corner of the map, ready for your crossing. And this is where my challenge began. I flung myself to the tiki heads and grabbed the loot. My destination was a campsite on the far southeast corner of the map, nearly 2,700 meters away. I oriented myself to the southeast and sent my first grapple. Now might be a good time to outline the rules of this challenge. My viewers informed me that I was allowed to jump and slide, but I had to wait for the cooldown of the grapple. I could not walk. If I was lucky, I might end up in a bush, so I was less of a sitting target. But that rarely happened. What were the chances I could sit in the open without getting sniped? I found that it was best to wait until I had at least 2 grapple uses, especially when trying to get over small hills. I also did my best to keep my head on a swivel. I found out that grappling trees was almost always a bad idea. Even though they seem like great anchor points, you always slam into the branches and fall straight down. I was just over halfway across the map when I found myself in the river. I was informed by those in the stream that I was allowed to swim if the water was in my direct path, but I grappled out instead. My momentum and my will to continue on were crushed when even after 3 grapples I failed to reach the top of a cliff, and my heart sunk when I saw how far into the zone I still needed to travel. As I contemplated my next move and waited for the grapple cooldown, I witnessed an impaired driver full-sended off the cliff. I considered griefing their vehicle, but it seemed like they had enough problems the way it was, so I continued in the opposite direction. I entered the storm with only 1 medkit. I would need to make it to the vending machine at Hazy Hillside if I was going to have any chance at survival, and it wasn't looking good when I again failed to clear the boulders in my path. Just like in life though, sometimes you need to look backwards in order to go forwards, and that's what I did. I made it to the vending machine just in time, but unfortunately inflation has been killing my bottom line, and I only had 400 gold bars. I bought all the medkits I could afford. I used one just as my life was expiring. I headed out of town towards the mountain range to the southeast. I took advantage of my mobility and began my ascent. As the storm raged around me, I paused for a moment to take another medkit. I only had 2 heals left, but I was optimistic they would be enough. Or was I just being naive? Time would tell. I flung myself over the mountain and nearly slipped over the edge. Luckily, I had saved enough grapple uses to propel myself back to safety and within 200 meters of the finish line. I was nearly there. The storm was still a 1-tick, and I still had 2 medkits. This challenge was in the bag. It only took me 3 more grapples to slide into the campfire and complete the challenge. But I wasn't done yet. I looted some health and weapons from the research facility. Maybe I could still win the match to cap off this challenge. I needed to traverse nearly half of the map to reach the safe zone. I was so focused on my positioning, I hadn't noticed that the storm had become a 2-tick. I started my medkit just before the storm could take me. No! Storm sickness! How did I know it would be my undoing? Could this be the first time I ever escape it? I pushed my little dirt bike to the limit to escape the storm before I was inflicted. I couldn't believe I had actually made it to safety. I was too hyper-focused on the crown and the player on the roof in front of me that I didn't notice the rustling in the bush behind me. I took my shot and was immediately ambushed. Sadly, the bush camper got the best of me, and I finished in 5th place. Subscribe.